Say, hey, good to see you. Jimmy C in the hot seat for high school sports talk. And if you're a high school football player and you're still practicing this week, well, you got it all going on. That means you are going to the show, the state sectional playoffs. They all start this weekend. And that's what this show is all about tonight. Not too many highlights along the way. We will have the big one, BC and St. Joe's, but we've brought in a cast of characters. We've brought in 3 of the top mics in the high school football scene. Mike Quick from the MSG Network, Mike Miello, head coach of Ramapo High School, and Mike Campanile, head coach of Paramus Catholic. These 3 guys, we're going to try and break down 7 of the games going on this weekend. Games going on at Keene College, at Giant Stadium, and at some home sites. Also here, Cablevision's own David Weinberg. You've seen him all year on the Game of the Week, analyzing football. We'll break down a couple of teams David has seen along the way. Also tonight, an outstanding tribute in our Spotlight segment. Dameon Reilly traveled his way around on a tribute to Tom Dellatore, the great comet who passed away about 3 weeks ago. So all this great stuff along the way tonight. We promised we would have the one big highlight, and that is where we start with football and Bergen Catholic St. Joe's. Yes, here it is again. A little different this year, though. Of course, St. Joe's now in Parochial 3. Not their choice, but they had to go. Bergen Catholic comes in 9-0, winners of 22 straight. Fred Stangel's club, the defending champs. In Parochial 4, led by Notre Dame-bound Matt Lavecchio. Lavecchio, as a starting quarterback, never lost a game. St. Joe's and Tony Carthage, 9-0, a little bit smaller, but still 9-0 this year. These guys have been outstanding. Average margin of victory for Tony Carthage's club in 1999, 26 points. That, my friends, is getting it done. It was the game of the year in the NNJIL. Back we go to Saturday afternoon, 7,000 strong. They came. Yes, there's Fred Stangel ready for another war with his good friends from St. Joe's, and there's Tony Carthage. He's 6-6 lifetime in this matchup. First quarter, BC punt blocked, recovered by Jonathan D'Amato on the BC 32-yard line. St. Joe's strikes first. What a day for Matt Romeo. Look at the senior go. Round the left side, just getting going. Next play, Ayatunde Oluwale. Ayatunde Oluwale, he has emerged this year as a big-time contributor. 11 yards left side, scampers into the end zone. Extra point, no good. St. Joe's is up 6-0. Second quarter, crowd loves it. BC gets it back in a hurry. Robert Bertolini, look at a big O-line, open up, slams his way through. Bertolini crosses. BC would get the extra point. They lead in the ball game 7-6. Couple big defensive stands by both teams. First, BC on D. 4th and 3, Shannon O'Reilly and company. No siree on this one. We will take over. Then, Bergen Catholic on 4th and 1, going for it. But the St. Joe's defense, here we go, boys. Here we go. 4th and 1. Mike Plessia says, I'll fill this gap. I'll shoot this gap. No way on that one, and St. Joe's would take over. This time, on the move they go, and it's Gooch. Gooch. Harry Gooch. Harry Gooch. Watch the tough runner right here. Right side. Hits the hole. Bangs through the first tackler. No, sir. Stiff arm city. Look at Harry. Electrifying run right there. Got everybody going. Then, it's Matt Romeo. One of the best runs you'll see. Look at him, left side. Picks up the block. Lowers the head once. Lowers the head twice. Give it to me, baby. 6 on the board right there. St. Joe's is up 12-7 at the half. You can see the change for BC. It's 4th down. Trying to tack something on before the half. But Pat McManus on Lavecchio. Oh, man, that's an open field tackle right there like it ought to be. We would go into the locker room at 12-7. To the third quarter we go. This is how you start the half. Pat McManus, he ended the half. Pat McManus, he's been outstanding with the kickoffs this year. No, you don't have to take it all the way to give a spark. Just pick up some good yardage, get everybody going, 33-yard return. But my friends, it was Romeo on this day, baby. He was the best player on the field this time. St. Joe's just grinded it out. Romeo hitting the hole, cuts back. Nothing but daylight right here. Into the end zone, 24 yards. St. Joe's is up 18-7. But everybody knew you could only keep Lavecchio down so long. Can you throw a ball any better than this? Woo! Look at Jeff Mueller in stride. Takes this one in, gone. 77 yards on this one, and BC is right back in it. They're down 18-13. They go for 2. 2-point conversion. Looking to make it 18-15, in which case a field goal will tie. You know what? There was one sophomore on the field today, John McPhee. Look at him. Johnny McPhee picks it off. Outstanding work by him, a late starter. On defense for Romeo, he was big time, folks. Fourth quarter we go. A pass interference call put St. Joe's in business from the 21. 2 plays later, Matt Romeo gets it close. And what Romeo started on this day, Romeo would finish from the 5. Romeo, left side, look at the blocking out front, nothing but daylight, sneaks into the end zone, and this would really do it right here. St. Joe's is up 24-13. LaVecchio and company would have to try and get back through the air. This time, though, LaVecchio looking, right side, never should have thrown this one. He knows it. Standing right there is Chris Marshall. Chris Marshall picks it off. Good return right here. Another one of the turnovers that would hurt Bergen Catholic in the second half. St. Joe's goes right back to the running game. They only completed 1 pass all day. They didn't need to pass because the O-line came on a mission. They were grinding it out, getting a good push off the ball. There's Romeo once again. If it wasn't Romeo, it was Harry Gooch. Harry Gooch this time. 300 yards on the ground for St. Joe's on the day. To the 1-yard line they go, and then he's got 3 touchdowns. He's got 4. Matt Romeo takes it in. 4th touchdown of the day. They would tack on the 2. It was 32-13 St. Joe's. Unbelievable. LaVecchio, closing moments. It was almost fitting in this one. Harry Gooch chases. He had time on this one. Good coverage downfield. The secondary was outstanding for St. Joe's. And that is it. Chalk it up this time for Tony Carthage and SJR. Big time victory right there. They walk off the winners 32-13. Big one.
I'm really proud of the way our guys played right from the beginning. We said we need 48 minutes. We had a little lull there that one time. We got beat on the home run. Then we fumbled the kickoff, and thank God we recovered it. And then we just regained our composure after that. But could have went either way at that point.
Oh, Bergen's a huge team. They hit extremely hard. Have our team small, have we hit hard too. So I guess it evens out in the end, you know.
All right, advantage St. Joe's in this one. You know, I don't think anybody will ever dominate this game. You know, the talent pool for these two teams is just too rich. When you look at Tony Carthage, 12 times he had played Bergen Catholic coming into this one, 6-6. If that's not the proof right there, now he moves to 7-6. Just a lot of talent. 2 years ago was St. Joe's. Last year was Bergen Catholic. Back to St. Joe's this year. I'm sure that this is the way this one's going to go from here to eternity. We will talk more about this game later on with MSG's Mike Quick. He was on the scene. Do you like it better that they play in the regular season? Should they be in the same parochial bracket? Should one of these teams have to go through the other team to win a state championship? One day I'm on one side of the fence, the other day I'm on the other side of the fence. We'll pick Mike Quick's brain a little later tonight. Take a quick break right now, though. More high school sports talk is on the way right after this.
Regardless of your sport, listen up.
I'm the captain of my football team, and I go to Dr. Ken for my breathing. And his adjustments improve my endurance and stamina to play the best line possible.
As a wrestler and field hockey player, I need to be free from pain. Dr. Ken keeps my body healthy and helps me to perform my best.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willows. If you hurt but you still want to win, you will not succeed. Call me and we'll find out if chiropractic can help you get back on the winning track.
Are you looking to increase your speed and improve your athletic potential? For the past 8 years, Bill Parisi and his staff at the Parisi School of Speed, Agility, and Quickness have been helping athletes from grade school to the pros reach their athletic potential. The Parisi School has grown to become one of the nation's leading athletic development programs, which offers the most advanced, cutting-edge training methods around. No matter what your training focus is, you will not find a program anywhere that gives you Parisi's guaranteed results. Call today for a free brochure, 201-444-4041, or visit our website at sci-1.com.
Dr. Dominic Lembo has been providing all facets of family dentistry to the community since 1990. Dr. Lembo's office has been renovated to serve you better and is fully equipped with the most up-to-date technology that meets or exceeds all government standards of sterilization and infection control to protect you and your family. Dr. Lembo and his staff are available Monday through Saturday by appointment and are also available for 24-hour emergency service. There's no need to worry about forms or confusing paperwork. Dr. Lembo's staff will prepare all forms for you. So call us today for an appointment.
And welcome back to High School Sports Talk. Still to come tonight, all the previews with all the guys. You know, it was about 3 weeks ago. The news came down for many people in the North Jersey sports community like a ton of bricks. The death of Tom Dellatore. 50 years. Tom Dellatore involved in high school athletics, recreation athletics, just everything under the sun at Hackensack High School. Tom Dellatore was the ultimate comment. We had an outpouring of emotion about Tom Dellatore and the impact he had on others. So Dameon and Reilly saddled up the Spotlight crew for some thoughts and some feelings on the great comment, Tom Dellatore.
For over 50 years, Tommy Dellatore was a fixture in Hackensack scholastic sports. Not only was he a successful coach, but he was a mentor and father figure to many who played for him. He was a winner on and off the field, and every youngster looked forward to playing for Coach Dellatore.
He was just such a great man to many of us, and especially me, I think. He was like my second father. And so he was that kind of figure in Hackensack. When you were 10, 11, 12 years old, if you were a football player, you knew about Coach Dellatore because he was always at the recreation fields with baseball, he's involved, etc. You look forward to the day that you could play for Coach Dellatore.
If you were a kid in Hackensack and you were involved in sports at all, in particular football, you certainly knew who Coach Dellatore was. And before long, you know, it became a dream that someday, you know, you'd be playing for him. That was a goal that every young man in Hackensack looked forward to.
Coach Dellatore's love for young people was evident in his tireless involvement in not only football, but he was also the head track coach and athletic director of Hackensack High School, recreation director for the towns of Hackensack, Maywood, and Rochelle Park, as well as working for the local YMCA.
That was his motivation, was young people. And he always made sure that if he went around to the parks, because that's what he would do, he would drive around to every town, to every park, to make sure that he saw kids, whether they were playing football, playing basketball, playing stickball, playing baseball, pitching horseshoes. And if you didn't have it, he'd go right to his car and get those materials out so you could have them to play with in the park. The man was a great man.
That's really Coach's life. It was all centered around kids. You know, we were his boys, and you felt that. You know, that's why I said before about being a second father. That's how we looked at all of us. We were his boys. Once you were Coach's boy, you know, you knew if there was anything you needed help with, you just go to Coach, and Coach was there to protect you and help you in every way. But he made all those kids his boys.
It seemed as though there were 50 Coach Dellatores driving around Hackensack, because every place you looked, you know, it was Coach Dellatore somewhere, whether it be in the playground, in the schoolyard, you know, in church or shopping at Packard Bambergers, wherever, it was Coach Dellatore.
From 1946 to 1967, Coach Dellatore not only left his mark on the gridiron in leading Hackensack High School to 8 Group 4 sectional championships and 10 NNJIL titles, but also left his mark in the hearts of his players.
The greatest impact he had on us was to teach us how to care for the people who came up behind us. Never to forget your town, your school, your community, and the kids who followed you. Just like the kids ahead of us were our role models, we became role models for the people behind us. And that was as a result of his tutelage.
I wasn't the smartest guy in the class, in my senior class. I had to take a math class. I took a math class under Coach. And he would make sure that my work was done, made sure I'd see all my other teachers if I was having a problem. But he was more concerned about you being academics, worrying more about your academics than football.
On Wednesday, November 17th, hundreds of people, which included former players, students, and faculty who knew Coach Dellatore and those who didn't know him, turned out to pay their final respects to a true coaching legend and a beloved human being.
I know when I first started coaching, and still today, a lot of the sayings, the mannerisms, you try to emulate him, and you really never can, but you try, because you know we're successful, you know how he touched your life, and much far greater than just being a football player. He touched your life, and you hope that you could touch someone else the same way, but the reality is you never really will.
I've never met anyone in my lifetime who has ever touched more people in a positive way than Coach did. The reason I'm a coach today is because I wanted to be just like Coach Dellatore. And he was my professional role model. Other than my own two parents, no one has had a greater influence over my life than he has.
He used to say it all the time, if there are 10 kids that people have given up on, and you don't give up on those 10 kids, there is the possibility that you may save 2 or 3 of them. But the alternative would be you wouldn't save any of them if you did nothing.
Yes, sir. The great Tom Dellatore right there. An outstanding piece by Dameon Reilly. And one of the guys you saw in that piece, he is the head coach of Ramapo High School right here. Of course, played under Coach Dellatore. Actually took over for Tom Dellatore in 1970. Mike Miello, good to see you, Coach. And a starring tribute right there. And great to see some of the old photos of you and Tony Carstens along the way. But I think the one thing about Tom Dellatore, of course, as all you coaches, you have impact on young men and young women as athletes. But Tom Dellatore had an impact on youngsters as people.
He sure did. As we all mentioned somewhere along that piece, which was such a wonderful piece that, you know, Coach touched so many lives, but not just on the football field. I don't know of anyone who provided more direction and motivation and helped you set goals to have the opportunity to be successful in life. He just loved kids and loved what he did. And I think if people just knew that and knew what a passion was involved, you know, they would really know Coach.
You know, so many times in sports we see programs, you know, like the San Francisco 49ers, Bill Walsh, where a lot of his assistants become head coaches. And Tom Dellatore, as we saw in the piece, did he inspire guys like yourself to want to coach? I mean, you took over for him a short time later, but is he the kind of guy that inspired you to want to be a coach?
Without any question. I had 2 male role models in my life. My own father, who taught us how to provide for a family and work hard, and Coach Dellatore, who basically provided the role model of what do you want to do with your life professionally. And I was just telling my wife and kids this the other night, I don't even remember ever thinking about wanting to do anything but coach. And that's because he had such a strong influence on us.
Beautiful. There are 2 reasons why we brought Mike Miello in here today. Of course, the first with some words on the great Tom Dellatore, but the second, we are talking about football today. In Group 3, he is very familiar with Wayne Hills and Hoboken. They are playing for it all this Saturday night at Giant Stadium for the Group 3 title. When we come back, Mike Quick will be here. Also, Mike Miello, we're talking Wayne Hills and Hoboken next.
When I started school, little did I know that my teacher was giving me skills that would last a lifetime.
Passaic County educators open worlds of opportunity, exposing your children to new ideas, molding today's students into tomorrow's citizens.
Passaic County Public Schools give our students, your children, the tools for success later in life.
The Passaic County Education Association urges you to give the gift that keeps on giving, education, the gift that lasts a lifetime, because our public schools work.
Dr. Dominic Lembo has been providing all facets of family dentistry to the community since 1990. Dr. Lembo's office has been renovated to serve you better and is fully equipped with the most up-to-date technology that meets or exceeds all government standards of sterilization and infection control to protect you and your family. Dr. Lembo and his staff are available Monday through Saturday by appointment and are also available for 24-hour emergency service. There's no need to worry about forms or confusing paperwork. Dr. Lembo's staff will prepare all forms for you. So call us today for an appointment.
When it comes to sports, Barrier Sporting Goods has it all. A family-owned business for 30 years, we specialize in team sports and uniforms with the largest selection of baseball, softball, soccer, football cleats, and sneakers in the area. Our staff will take the time to make sure you're fitted properly. We do our own screen printing and embroidery for sweatshirts, t-shirts, and uniforms, as well as string and regrip your tennis and racquetball rackets. Barrier Sporting Goods, a family-owned business for families at the corner of Godwin and Crescent Ave in Whitehall.
And welcome back to High School Sports Talk. Well, this Saturday night, it is the main event, prime time at Giant Stadium, 8 p.m. in Group 3. It will be Hoboken, the defending champs in Group 3, taking on Wayne Hills, a rematch of last year, a game that Hoboken won 14-7. 2 guys here to break it down with me, all the way to my right. You know him as the voice of Scholastic Sports on the MSG Network, Madison Square Garden. Mike Quick, good to see you, Mike, as always.
Always a pleasure, Jimmy.
All right, gentlemen, let's break this one down. It's always nice. I think it's always a little flavor, Coach, when you have a rematch. And from a coaching standpoint, if you lose it, you feel like you got another crack. You had another crack at Ramapo this year, which I'm sure you're happy about. But from Chris Olson, a Wayne Hills standpoint, 18 of 22 starters are new faces. So this is a new game for Wayne Hills this year.
It really is. And, you know, I can't help but remark as to what great programs these two programs are and what a fine job both coaches do with their young men throughout the seasons. You know, it's a 12-month program in both schools. And, you know, Chris never rebuilds. He just reloads in the same exact scenario over in Hoboken. So they have two great teams playing.
Now, let's face it, Mike, Wayne Hills is up against it in this one. I mean, Hoboken is your classic steamroller team. I mean, 61 of 62, 4 out of 5 state titles, you know, game in and game out, just getting it done. It all starts with Tyrell Deutsch, all kinds of Division I players coming out of this program. You're really going to have to play a complete football game to beat Hoboken.
And this is a steamrolling team with track shoes because they get it and they can run. I think Mike would be the first one to agree that this could be one of the fastest teams, not only in the state, but maybe that Eddie has ever had over there at Hoboken. When Tyrell Deutsch is your third fastest player and everybody in the country wants him to come play for him next year, you know what type of speed you have there. I mean, and you saw it, you know, 2 weeks ago, 33-6. You can't get a game plan to really coach against that type of speed.
Your only game plan, Mike, is to try and keep the ball out of their hands as much as possible. And I think if Wayne Hills can sustain offensive drives, eat up 6-7 minutes at a clip, and you can't give Hoboken 10-12 possessions because you're not going to contain them the whole ball game. Quickness is, you don't coach quickness, and they have plenty of it.
Let's talk a little bit about Wayne Hills. I mean, Chris Olson Sr. inserted his son, who's done an outstanding job. Chris Olson at quarterback. We know about Hagauer and A.J. Spicer. I mean, this is a team that's got a lot of talent. They have been dominant this year. I mean, maybe a little banged up going in. Is A.J. Spicer? He should play in this game. You would imagine they would that he will make it into this game. But Chris Olson, you know, they have reloaded. They are right back there where they should be.
Well, Chris is, as I said, done a great job. His son, Christopher, he's the next big timer in this area. He's really done a remarkable job at quarterback as far as a sophomore goes. But A.J. Spicer, he'll put all the pains and aches and pains away. And I'll tell you what, he's just one of those kids who makes that 4-yard run, turns it into 12 and 15. And I think the biggest difference is when Hagar went to fullback, number 2. He's a threat, running the inside trap, catching the football. He's made it a whole new dimension, added a whole new dimension on offense.
I mean, we're seeing right there a little Wayne Hills defense, and you mentioned A.J. Spicer and company, and here's A.J. Mike, quick, does it seem like A.J. Spicer has been around high school football for the last 4 years? I mean, it's amazing.
Well, he's one of those guys. He's like Greg Toll and Chris Sims. It seems like we've been talking about him since day one, and, you know, he puts the football away, he goes out there and hits the golf ball all over the place. He's a great golfer, and you can only hope in a game of this magnitude that he is 100%, because you go this far, you want everybody, and you know Stinson wants to play against the best. He wants everybody healthy, so when you win it, it means that much more. You don't want to go into that game and AJ's at 50 or 70%. If you're Hoboken, you want him 100%. You play the game. Whoever wins it, they can truly say that they're the best in Section 1, Group 3.
Mike, when you talk about playing Hoboken, though, one thing's for sure, you have to tackle. I mean, these guys, you cannot let these guys break off the first tackle, and Dorch and Vladimir Ventura and Carlos Perez. And you got to expect they might throw the ball a little bit. They've thrown over 10 touchdown passes this year, which is very un-Ed Stinson-like at Hoboken. Multi-dimensional offensively, and when you play offense, you have to make some plays against this team. I mean, you got to come in. They're not going to shut this team out. You got to expect to make some plays, but starting with, you must tackle this team.
Without any question. I think having quickness and speed is one thing, but it comes down to attitude, and I think that was summarized by what Deutsch, I read in the papers what Deutsch said, and that is our coach expects us to make 5 yards on every running play and then make you miss and make it a big run. And that's in their minds all the time, and that's the attitude they run with. And you know, as far as their offense goes, Eddie runs that Delaware, but it's probably the most complete package of a Delaware offense that you can run. Has a lot of different options, and he utilizes all of them.
And Mike, quick, you could already see a little controversy brewing, because if St. Joe's knocks off Del Barton in the New Jersey statewide poll, Bergen Catholic was number 1, Del Barton was 2, Hoboken was 3, and St. Joe's 4. Now, if St. Joe's knocks off 1 and 2, 3 moves up to 1, right? Or do you say, hey, 4 moves up to 1 because they beat 1 and 2?
Well, it's a tough spot. We'll talk about St. Joe's and Del Barton later, but if St. Joe's beats Del Barton going back-to-back weekends, actually 6 days, beating number 1 and number 2, I truly believe St. Joe's deserves to be number one. Hey, you know, this guy right here, if Hoboken beats him 2 years ago when Chris Sims and Greg Toll were juniors, you know, Hoboken's going for the state record on Sunday for consecutive victories. Paulsboro had 63. If these guys don't knock them off, they're going for 64, and that would be a state record. So you got to feel pretty good.
I'm really sorry.
The only bump in the road, compliments of you in 97. But I must compliment you on your team in 1999. The only two teams you lost to, Wayne Hills and Hoboken, and when they're standing there in the state final, you could take a little solace in that. And you guys won a lot of close games early on this year, so you had to be happy with your 99 group.
I'm very proud of this group of young men. Jimmy, I don't think I've ever been prouder of a group that I've coached. They were young and experienced, and no one but us and our players, you know, expected us to have a successful season. Everybody was talking about people we lost, and we don't look at it that way. It was their turn this year to show up and play and let people know who they were, and they did a nice job.
Mike, thanks for being here. Great seeing you.
My pleasure.
All right, that's Mike Miello, right, the head coach of Ramapo. If you're Wayne Hills, let's face it, guys, you just got to play a complete game. Make plays all over the field. You see St. Joe's, complete game this week. Secondary got it done. Guys up front, make some plays, man. You guys can get it done. It's out there for the taking. Go take it. Chris Olson and Wayne Hills in the final, third year in a row. 2 years ago in Group 4, last year in Group 3. Hey, enough said about that. You're into the finals 3 years in a row. You're getting it done. Take a quick break right on the big show. More of Mike Quick and all the guys right after this.
Okay, so you have your truck, and you have stuff to put in your truck, like camping gear, groceries, or even the family dog. But what if it rains? Your stuff will get all wet, unless you get an ARE truck cap. ARE has just the right style to suit your needs. Stop in and visit us soon, so you're not left out in the rain.
Suburban Cabs, Mawa and Old Bridge, New Jersey, 732-251-4383.
For hours of fun, excitement, and more ice than Madison Square Garden and the Meadowlands combined, it's the Ice House in Hackensack. With 4 NHL-sized rinks under one roof, Ice House offers year-round hockey, learn-to-skate programs for groups and individuals, daily public skating, birthday parties, and private events. Their 5,000-square-foot pro shop carries top-of-the-line equipment and apparel, as well as a professional service department for all your skating needs. The Ice House, 111 Midtown Bridge Approach in Hackensack. It's the coolest place.
To get the medical skills you need for the job you want, call Berdan. Medical assistant or medical administrator, call Berdan. To be a dental assistant, call Berdan.
Berdan means to me that I now have a career.
Berdan gave me a very diversified education and background.
I would recommend Berdan to anyone that's looking for a head start into the medical field.
Berdan's the place to go.
Call now. Berdan is where you get started.
And welcome back as we continue looking at the state finals, the state sectional finals of football. We go to Group 1 in Section 1, Cresskill at Glen Rock. Oh, the Panthers in 1999, the defending champs. Boy, they have had a season to remember. And Mike Quick, we talk about a classic steamroller team. You're looking at this Glen Rock team. I mean, they're averaging 50 points a game. They have not had a single game where the fourth quarter meant anything. You take a look at, Patterson Catholic last week winning the parochial 1 state title, going away 35-7 against Gloucester Catholic. And here's Glen Rock, a Group 1 public school, took care of business against them. This is a big-time team.
Group 1 public school, forget about it. This team, and we're going to move them. I know your show's on before we unveil our MSG Daily News Tri-State Top 10. But on the taxi
Get him
squad,
in there.
Yeah, Glen Rock's coming
Get him in there.
Alan Deet and the boys, they're going to come in. I went to see them play against Garfield, and this team had 21 points in, I think, the first 48 seconds of the game, and their offense hadn't run a play yet. I mean, they are absolutely sensational. This kid, Grant Adams, he will be one of our Heisman Tri-State players. Just sensational. Great speed, gazelle-like, runs effortlessly. And this Glen Rock team with Scott Stevens, there you go. I mean, just unorthodox, they get it done. Reminds me so much of Chris Leonard a few years ago, who had that great career for Glen Rock. And they do. Jimmy, they are absolutely loaded. I would love to see this team. You know what a great matchup would be? Glen Rock against Hoboken. I think that would be such a good game. And they're up and down the field. The problem is their defense is on the field so much because they score so quickly, but nobody's scoring against them. So that'll be a fun game because Cresskill, they can play some defense. They shut out Park Ridge 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, 22-0. You know, Chris Charles putting up big numbers, just under 2,000 yards on the season. They shut him down. Mike Butler, 2 interceptions and a fumble return for a touchdown. So
this is some filibuster of yours right here.
Yeah, it's funny. Watching Glen Rock, there's a big-time hit right there. And
this is Cresskill right here. You talk about Adam Lang and Ray Henderson, the QB. Ray Henderson has got to have a big day for Cresskill. 1,500 yards passing. He will run the football. But, hey, against Glen Rock, Mike, you have to score points. You're going to have to play with these guys to an extent. You're not going to shut a team that averages 50 points down to nothing. You're going to have to put some points on the board. Once again, we talk about come into this one-game situation, make some plays.
Make some plays and make the plays with your offense. And you know what? You don't want to make too many big plays, though. I think you want to eat the clock a lot, because if you're coming down scoring with them and you get into a track meet with Glen Rock, you're going to lose. Now, you come down the field and you eat some clock, 5-6 minutes would be a great drive. Then you get a chance, because Glen Rock, they're a freak of nature playing Group 1 football. They have so many players.
22 straight. You talk about Scotty Stephen and Grant Adams. And there's Leron Ankle, 233 yards in the state semifinal against Secaucus. Owen, Mia, all the guys. But when you talk about, Cresskill, they are an underdog in this. But when you look at the whole scope of games, I kind of want to believe that there's no true underdogs, because if you're in a state final, you have proven one thing along the way: you can win a football game. So no one is a tremendous underdog. I mean, obviously, when you look at Glen Rock and the numbers they put up, but everybody in these state finals has shown they can win a football game.
They've shown it, but believe me, you're an underdog if you're going up against Glen Rock. Jim, the team is absolutely loaded. If Cresskill wins this game, that would probably be, it would be the biggest upset in the state playoffs if Cresskill beats Glen Rock.
I'm with you on that. Glen Rock.
Whoa, wait a second here. You told me you're not making any type of predictions.
I'm not.
I
said it would be a big upset. I say it would be a big upset.
You're afraid. What it is when you go out to games, you're afraid because people yell at you and stuff like that. That's why you don't make predictions.
I'm going to need security before this show is over. Glen Rock, you look at them. They lost their first game of the season last year. Have not lost since. 22 in a row. That will be a good one at Glen Rock this Saturday. Quick break on the show. More Mike Quick and the guys right after this.
Does your child have trouble in school? Does he or she study for tests but then perform poorly? Does he or she have trouble concentrating or is easily distracted? Hello, I'm Dr. Jane Petrosino. If you answered yes to any of these questions, your child may be at risk for ADD, learning disabilities, or dyslexia. Through testing, I can determine whether your child may need outside educational support.
Dr. Jane is an expert in dyslexia and learning disabilities from preschool to adult.
You know you have a bright child. Let me help your child perform to his or her fullest potential.
Dr. Dominic Lembo has been providing all facets of family dentistry to the community since 1990. Dr. Lembo's office has been renovated to serve you better and is fully equipped with the most up-to-date technology that meets or exceeds all government standards of sterilization and infection control to protect you and your family. Dr. Lembo and his staff are available Monday through Saturday by appointment and are also available for 24-hour emergency service. There's no need to worry about forms or confusing paperwork. Dr. Lembo's staff will prepare all forms for you. So call us today for an appointment.
And welcome back to high school sports. So we move on to the parochial division. What a doubleheader it's going to be Friday night at Giant Stadium. Game 1 will be St. Joe's and Del Barton at 6 o'clock. Game 2, Bergen Catholic taking on the Iron Crew from Don Bosco Prep. Well, Don Bosco Prep along the way had to play a Thanksgiving game. And you know what? Things did not go as planned for Don Bosco Prep and Greg Toll and company, because they were taking on the Paladins of Paramus Catholic. Paramus Catholic, they just love Thanksgiving. It's a time of thanks, and it's a time to go get some victories. Let's take a look at some of the action from Thanksgiving. And you know, when you're talking Paramus Catholic, you're talking Campanile brothers. Here's Nick Campanile. Look at a super sophomore taking it down inside the 5-yard line. That let everybody know that Paramus Catholic could run on Don Bosco on this day. But when it came down to it, it was the other camp. Anthony Campanile, fourth quarter from the 11 to Chris O'Reilly, and that was it. Don Bosco prep goes down in kind of their warm-up before the state championship. And who do we bring in to talk some shop in parochial division? He is the head coach for the past 10 years of Paramus Catholic, Mike Campanile. Good to see you, Coach. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on a nice Thanksgiving victory. And what better guy to talk a little Don Bosco? First of all, are there any more Campaniles coming across the board? Nicky is a sophomore, 146 yards. You got Anthony in there. We saw Vito. We saw Nunzio. We've seen Gina.
Yes.
Any more coming along?
Next one will be Vito's son, I guess. But he's not married yet, so we got a little ways to go.
He'll be onside kicking wherever he is.
I'll tell you one thing, your sons are a lot faster than you because you can't run like that.
That's true.
You know?
Thank God they're faster than me.
And what is your name? Campanile, Campanelli? What's going on here?
Italian guys, they answered all that. No, really it's Campanile, but everybody says Campanelli. I've been answering to that since
You know what I
I was
always
a
say,
little boy.
call me whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner.
There you
right?
go. That's true.
When we talk about Don Bosco, Coach, you come into this game, you know going in, this is a team that's going to the parochial finals. Don Bosco under first-year head coach Greg Toll, and you guys were able to control them on the ground. I mean, really held them to 73 yards rushing. We know about Ryan Grant. We know about all the speed they have. I know the weather played a little part, but how did you contain them?
Well, that's funny. I put Vito in charge of the defense this week, and I asked him to come up with a scheme to slow them down a little bit, and he did a great job. He put together a real good defensive scheme. We tried to get an extra guy to the side of their stretch, and we did real good. And we figured they would go to the option after that, and they did, and we kind of worked on that all week. And I got to give him credit. He did a great job of putting together Coach Carl Ross and Vito and Coach Billy Lopez. They really kind of took the defense over for me, and I was very happy with what they did.
And Mike, quick, when you talk about Don Bosco, this is why Greg told us here to win a game like this, coming in against Bergen Catholic, all that speed. Ryan Grant can get it done. We know about the super freshmen in Dorian Bryan, Guglielmotti. These guys have some playmaker potential, and they could make some noise in this game.
They're not going into this game scared either, Jimmy. I mean, they played Bergen head up earlier in the year, 7-7 game at the half. The Bryant kid is going to be sensational, no question about it. He scores the touchdown at the end of the half in their first meeting this year. Looks like a senior going into the break and then going out and getting the football. You know, one thing we have to remember, this is a Bosco team. You know, Greg has done a great job there, but, you know, he came in last year. They only lost 2 games a season ago.
Jackie Moore was tremendous.
He has a whole new group of kids there, and he's going to mold them under the way he goes about coaching football. But they'll be ready. They won't be afraid of Bergen Catholic. I think the interesting thing is, how is Bergen going to regroup from what happened last Saturday?
And that's a coach's question. There are a lot of teams, strangely enough. You look at Westwood, undefeated. They lose going to the state final. You look at Don Bosco, you know, taking a loss before they go into a final. You look at Bergen Catholic coming off a loss. From a coach, do you try and build some anger into the kids? Do you try and inspire them? How do you build off a loss?
Well, I think it's important to pick out the good things that you did. You want to encourage them. You also have to pick out the things that you feel you have to improve on, but you don't have a lot of time, so you have to do it in a very positive way. The last thing you want to do is have them walk out there with their head down. And if you get, you know, upset with what happened the week before and you dwell on the negatives too much, it's very hard to get them to come out and play up to their potential. I mean, also, you know, Bergen, all right, they have the idea that Bergen lost, but, you know, Bergen's a great team with a lot of tradition. And, you know, one of my coaches said to me during the week, Joe Bosco has a tough road to hoe. And I said, why? And he said, in your lifetime, can you remember the last time Bergen lost 2 in a row?
Exactly.
Well, you know what? It's a good question.
How do you Mike, quick, do you go to school on how St. Joe's played Bergen Catholic if you're Don Bosco in the containment of Lovecchio and just kind of watch that film and try and take something away from that?
Well, when they played him the first time, we go back to this year because it's a good barometer. They got all over Matt in the first quarter. They sacked him 3.5 times in the first quarter alone. I just truly believe that Fred Stengel, this is going to be the most difficult week of preparation he's ever had as a coach. When they brought him in there 11 years ago, they brought him in to win big games. Now coming off one of the toughest losses they've probably ever had, this now becomes the biggest game they'll ever play. The St. Joe's game is done, and it means more to those guys than anything. But now he's got to find a way with himself and his coaches to get these guys ready. It's going to be a difficult thing, but those guys, you could tell after that game, they did not like the taste of defeat. And I think he'll have him ready, but Greg will have him ready too.
I think this is a tough one for Don Bosco. I mean, Greg told the last thing he wanted to see was Bergen Catholic losing that fashion to St. Joe's. I think Bergen Catholic's going to come in angry. I mean, this was not an elimination game. There was still light at the end of the tunnel for Bergen Catholic. Lavecchio, his first loss. This is going to be a tough one for Don Bosco. Once again, we talk about Dorian Brown, we talk about Ryan Grant. Got to make some big plays in this game. The secondary's got to play well. Lavecchio has not had too many back-to-back bad days in his career. And, of course, if Bergen Catholic wins this game, it'll be 7 titles. 7 in the 1990s for Fred Stengel and the Crusaders. That's something you can hang your hat on. Back in a moment, more of the high school football preview show right after this.
Okay, we're back at the Parisi School of Speed, Agility, and Quickness. Today we're going to focus on change of direction, the ability to go from left to right. Really important, obviously, in every sport, basketball, football, baseball, soccer. We have with us here today Dana Pacini from Immaculate Heart, basketball player, and a soccer player, right? Softball player, basketball and softball. First thing we're going to work on is what we call our speed skaters, lateral speed skaters. We're going to work on developing lateral explosive strength, pushing off that leg, moving to the left and back to the right. Let's demonstrate speed skaters. Right leg behind, staying low, go. Push, 1, push, 2, push off really far, 3, 4, give me 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. That's a lateral speed skater. Next thing we're going to do is use our sidewinder, and we're going to put this on to add a little extra resistance, and we're going to do a lateral shuffle exercise, pushing some medicine balls back to me. It's a lateral shuffle overloading the system. Ready? And go get the ball, push, chest pass back to me. 1, good, and good job. 2, come on, go get it. Quick shuffle. See the resistance on the legs? That's it. Come on, go get it. 2 more. 1, 2, last one. Good job. How's that feel? Lateral quickness. That's really the name of the game. Jimmy C, we're still waiting for you, my friend. Good job. We'll see you next week.
Oh, that Parisi, I love that guy. All right, Billy, I'll get down there yet. I'll get in there yet. Welcome back to high school sports.
You're
we
not
move
going
on.
down there.
I'm going down there. I'm down. I'm just preparing. I'm preparing myself. All right, I mentioned that the parochial, the first game in the parochial division, the parochial 3 game was 6 o'clock. It's actually 5 o'clock. Of course, it is St. Joe's, the Green Knights, taking on the Green Wave of Del Barton. And when we look at this game, this is, hey, you like to see, Mike Quick, 2 of the top-heavy teams, 2 of the big dogs meet in the final, and this is it. These guys could be 1-2, 2-1, 2-3 in anybody's poll, and this on paper, this looks like an outstanding matchup.
It really does, and in our poll, we moved Del Barton to number 1. St. Joe's is going to be number 2 when the poll comes out. All year long, I think we've all been waiting for this. We had a good idea when St. Joe's dropped to 3 that it would be Del Barton and St. Joe's, so hey, let's go. Let's get it going.
And, Coach, when you look at St. Joe's this year, this might be one of Tony Carson's best pure coaching jobs. He's not littered with Division I prospects on this team, no real big-name players, but they have really put teams away this year. They are rock solid every facet of the game.
Jimmy, they played Bergen, and they were outweighed at every position, and they just went out and out-hit them, out-hustled them, and actually moved them off the ball. But they've done that all year. They've done it all year, and you're right. This is the best coaching job he's done in the 10 years that I've been in the AMJL. I mean, not to take anything away from anything else he's done, but, when he had Lafredo and Gallo and Hoffman, I mean, my wife might have won 5 or 6 games coaching those teams. This team is...
She can coach.
Yeah, she's been around it a long time. But, seriously, there's not a Division I player on a team, and he's playing teams that are just incredibly loaded with talent. And I watch him, and, he acts like goody two-shoes, and he acts like the nicest guy in the world. But when those guys step on the field, they come out and they hit. And they hit like you wouldn't, I think you said on a telecast the other day that you could hear the noise down on the field. It's like that every week. Yeah. And I tell you what, that kid Gooch, I saw him knock the kid out in Hackensack. I saw him knock the kid out. He is just an incredible, he's the kind of kid who could get a whole team riled up and just make them play harder.
And this is a team, Mike, of contributors. I mean, you saw in that game whether it was Savolto, McPhee the sophomore, Marshall, Oluwale, Romeo on down, Tommy Monaco, the punter, going up to catch a ball before it gets snapped over his head. These guys, they're a collection of guys. 20 of 22 are seniors. This is a now team, but just everybody's contributing. And that, is your formula for success when you come into these one big games. Get contributions from everywhere.
And where are they going to get it on Friday night? It's key that Io plays on Friday night. He banged his ankle up late in the game. That is crucial because he's got to be able to get up there and lead, because when you go up against Del Barton, you're going up against big people. 6'4", 240, Tim Johnson, linebacker going to Penn State. I mean, they are big. They are much bigger than St. Joe's, which St. Joe's has proved that doesn't mean anything to them. But they're big, and if he's not there, that's a huge component that's missing out of
Talk
St.
about the
Joe's.
state scoring leader, Jermaine Pugh of Del Barton. I mean, he has had a fantastic campaign here in 1999.
Well, he's actually number 2 now in touchdowns. He's at 35. Nathan Jones from Scotch Plains had 3 on Thanksgiving Day. He goes to number 1 in the state for touchdowns. But Jermaine Pugh he's sensational. He's a little guy, just 5'5", and he flies all over the field. And St. Joe's is going to have to find a way to stop him, and they're going to have to find a way to stop my guy, Wesley Swackhammer, the greatest name in all of sports. And he is a guy that makes big plays. He's a wideout, and he's a defensive back, 6'2", 185. They throw the fades to him all day. He goes up and catches them on defense. He hits you. He makes interceptions. He picks up the ball on fumbles and runs. Hey, Jimmy, this is a team, Del Barton. They've allowed 51 points all year. Their defense alone has scored 40. Swackhammer has 4 defensive touchdowns this year.
Coach, does it take anything away from your standpoint, the fact that Bergen Catholic and St. Joe's, now St. Joe's down at parochial 3, do you think these two teams should have to go through one another to win a state title?
I think it's a great situation for high school sports. And I listened to both of you, and I just have to say that Del Barton has no idea what they're getting themselves into. My team played against them, and we were beating them actually going into the second quarter. And our kids, we pride ourselves on being a bunch of cuckoo birds who just knock heads with anybody. And we played Del Barton a few years ago, and I just have to say that they haven't had a test like this. I'm not taking anything away from their league, but it's not the NJL.
No, you're 100% right. One thing to remember that's pretty important, you always look for those intangibles in games like this. Pat McMahon was the starting quarterback game 1 a season ago for Del Barton. Those Del Barton kids haven't forgot that, and they're going to come out and they're going to go after him. So.
And I mentioned it to Coach Campanile here. I mentioned it to you. Anything taken away from you that St. Joe's and Bergen Catholic now not the same pro? Should they have to go through one another? I go both ways. I'm on either side of the fence because I think why should they cancel each other out? You know what I mean? If these are the two strongest schools, why should they cancel one another out? Should they be in the same?
Not just Bergen and St. Joe's. I want Big Mike's Paramus Catholic team in there. I want Greg's Don Bosco team in there. Take the 3s and the 4s and make a super parochial conference. The 1s and 2s can stay, but 3s and 4s should be a super conference, and that's the way they should do it.
Super parochials, huh, Coach?
You agree?
I would drive 2 hours for those games to be involved in those games. I agree with him 100%. It would be the best league that I ever
There's
saw.
not enough teams. There's 8 teams in parochial 4. Put them all together and let them whack each other.
One thing you can say about Tony Carson and St. Joe's in 1999, 8 of their 10 opponents made the postseason, went to the playoffs. That is a tough schedule. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. It was outstanding. Mike Campanile and Mike Quick. Before we go, let's take a look. Mike Quick, of course, you can catch him on the MSG Network. Yeah, there it is, the High School Weekly, Thursdays at 7 p.m. most evenings, in case the Rangers or Knicks are playing. He should bump those guys off, though. Saturday at 10:30 a.m., every Saturday at 10:30 a.m., and then the High School Report, Saturday, 10:30 p.m. See all the highlights from the weekend. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Wait, Quick has one last thing to say, I think, before we let him go. Can we come back here quickly?
Is this the first time you ever had an Irish guy on the show? I mean, I feel like I had to buy a vowel here tonight.
Yes, right. Well, you could. We like it's a Sopranos theme we got going here.
We got to get this guy on the Sopranos.
He wants to be on.
He'd be perfect.
The custodian is Gandolfini's father?
Yeah.
Tony Soprano's father is the custodian at Paramus Catholic?
Yes.
We can't get you on the Sopranos?
I'd be great on that.
Come on, let's get a high school football coach on the Sopranos.
Tony's son is getting older. Maybe they send him to
talk
Paramus.
We'll go to break. We'll see you in a minute. More of the high school show as we go. Absolutely. We got to get you on there, man. I'm telling you.
The most important city in the world is hidden beneath the sea. The coral reef is home to more species than any place on Earth. It keeps the oceans healthy. It keeps our planet healthy. Unfortunately, overfishing and pollution are destroying the coral reef. Most will disappear in our lifetime, unless you help. But just think, if you do, you might just save the world.
For hours of fun, excitement, and more ice than Madison Square Garden and the Meadowlands combined, it's the Ice House in Hackensack. With 4 NHL-sized rinks under one roof, Ice House offers year-round hockey, learn-to-skate programs for groups and individuals, daily public skating, birthday parties, and private events. Their 5,000-square-foot pro shop carries top-of-the-line equipment and apparel, as well as a professional service department for all your skating needs. The Ice House, 111 Midtown Bridge Approach in Hackensack. It's the coolest place.
Does your child have trouble in school? Does he or she study for tests but then perform poorly? Does he or she have trouble concentrating or is easily distracted? Hello, I'm Dr. Jane Petrosino. If you answered yes to any of these questions, your child may be at risk for ADD, learning disabilities, or dyslexia. Through testing, I can determine whether your child may need outside educational support.
Dr. Jane is an expert in dyslexia and learning disabilities from preschool to adult.
You know you have a bright child. Let me help your child perform to his or her fullest potential.
And welcome back to High School Sports Talk. We continue on, and now we look at Group 4. And what a matchup it is in Group 4. Hackensack and Teaneck, practically neighbors, those guys are. The Comets and the Highwaymen, and one of the kind of strange little quirks, another one of these things I'm not sure if I like it or I don't. I probably don't like it. The fact that they had the Thanksgiving Day scheduled, Hackensack, Teaneck, the annual Hackensack, Teaneck, Thanksgiving Day. But here they have to play the next week in the state final, but you can't cancel the Thanksgiving game. Thanksgiving games, always one of the great ones. You know, have all the alumni coming back, guys who just left the program, went to college, everybody's home for Thanksgiving, they come to the games. The game has to go on, that is for sure. But when you got to play them in the state final the next week, makes it a little crazy. But what is there a better scouting report than playing the team you got to play the week before? Let's take a look at some of the highlights from Thursday. And this one, folks, went to the Comets. And who's their guy for Hackensack? Leroy Brooks, man. Leroy Brooks, #1 in your program, #1 on the scene, 19 yards. Hackensack jumps out 6-0 in this game. How about the QB? Bryson Rosser to Brian Wilson. Yes, good grab by Wilson there going up. It was 12-0 Hackensack. More Hackensack offense. Johnny Sylvan. Johnny inside 6 yards, follows the big boys. It is 20-0 Hackensack. I'll tell you, if Teaneck is going to win this game, Teaneck has won some big-time games in the postseason. They got to make, we've been talking about it all night, the big difference, the equalizer, the big play. Here's Myron Bullock right here, 83 yards on the touchdown run. They did it to Memorial. They did it along the way here in this great run against Ridgewood in that big comeback they had, and that's what Teaneck is going to do if they're going to win this game. They're going to have to make some big-time plays, get down the field. Yes, you know, along the way during this year on Cablevision Sports, of course, our Game of the Week. What an outstanding campaign we had. You know this next man as the color commentator, the guy who breaks it down from the X's and O's, the former coach himself, David Weinberg. Good to see you, David.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here as always. And talking some Hackensack right now. As a coach, you just played them, and now you got to play them once again. And I'm sure Ralph Doss is from Hackensack, he's probably thinking, this isn't so great because now they're going to be angry. We just beat them up. But Hackensack says, yeah, we beat them once. You worry about overconfidence. We could beat them again. What are some of the things you think about when you play a team twice within 10 days?
Well, you know, one of the things that you've neglected, if I may point out, is the defense of Hackensack, which I thought was terrific, especially when we saw them that day against Passaic. There was just a swarming defense. They always seem to make some terrific adjustments. I think as far as your question is concerned with Teaneck, you know, when you get a program like Hackensack or St. Joe's or Bergen Catholic or any of these programs, they don't know anything but winning. They don't know what it is to give up. They don't know what it is to say, I'll work at half speed. And that's, of course, the difference. I think they just break down tape pretty much the same way, and their incentive is, you know, the championship. So.
You talk about, Dave, I was going to get to the Hackensack defense. I mean, I wanted to introduce you before I got to the Hackensack defense. They held Teaneck to 5 yards in the first half, 84 yards overall. We saw them against Passaic, but now Teaneck, do they get a chance from an X's and O standpoint? Can you make some adjustments? Teaneck will also get back Alvin Elliott, their super prime time running back, one of the best players. One of those situations where, you know, it wasn't an elimination game, so Dennis Heck says, let me hold them out in this game because there's no point in getting them banged up on Thanksgiving when I need them for next week. They will get a boost from getting their best player back, but there's still going to have to be some adjustments made along the way.
You know, coaches always are looking for psychological angles, and you asked the question before of some of the gentlemen that were on your show. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry around here is named Mike. I'm thinking of changing my name. The whole idea of, you know, you look for the things that your team will respond to. So Teaneck will respond differently than Hackensack will respond, and their incentive, of course, is payback time, and that may be the carrot that they dangle in front of that team. I think you pretty well prepare the same and try to get into the mind of the 16 and 17-year-old, as odd and as difficult as that may be.
And Teaneck, what a ride they have been on. They're down 21-0 against Ridgewood. They come back and win that game. Then they go play Memorial, a team from Hudson County, a team that was rock solid, undefeated going in. They just smoked them. They absolutely smoked them. 28-0. Memorial never had a sniff in that game. Now they lose the game on Thanksgiving to Hackensack. So now it's kind of a bounce-back situation. But we've seen Hackensack at their best. So, you know, I feel good for Ralph Doss. I feel good for Ralph Doss because he took over for Greg Toll after they had won 5 straight. This is his 3rd year, and now he's got him back in the dance. You know, all these kids on Hackensack I've heard, because none of them were on any of those title teams from 3 years ago, and they've all heard about back in the day when we won 5 straight, and when does the fan base really take them serious? Because if they're not going to win a state title, what do they have? And now they have their shot. Leroy Brooks and company have had all they want to hear about the state title teams. Now they have their shot. You got to feel good for the program.
Well, you know, coaches are teachers first, and I think that's something. We throw all these numbers around of touchdowns and field goals and all these great, you know, I'm going to college, Notre Dame, but, you know, the real thing are coaches are teachers first. And the field is really an extension of the classroom. And that's what these guys, the guys that excel, the Carsages and the Stengels and of course, Miello, who, you know, I just loved taking that game because I go to all these clinics and I listen to these guys coach and I think, I want to be like that. You know, what books do they read? I read their books. What books do they read? Because they're, you know, always in the hunt for the championship. A lot of the guys that meet with success understand that being a teacher is more important than being a coach, and they'll find lessons each time. You know, the Teaneck coach, the Hackensack coach, all of these coaches that have to come back, the St. Joe's coach, BC Stengel, he'll find something to dangle that carrot in front of his players.
It should be interesting. 2 o'clock on Saturday at Hackensack is the Group 4. All the chips are on the table. The Highwaymen and the Comets. That one should be fun. One of those teams is coming away with a state title. Back with the big show. More right after this.
When I started school, little did I know that my teacher was giving me skills that would last a lifetime.
Passaic County educators open worlds of opportunity, exposing your children to new ideas, molding today's students into tomorrow's citizens.
Passaic County Public Schools give our students, your children, the tools for success later in life.
The Passaic County Education Association urges you to give the gift that keeps on giving, education, the gift that lasts a lifetime, because our public schools work.
And here it is, the game of the week for this week, the state final, Pequannock and the Panthers. They have been outstanding, taking on Hanover Park, King College, 11 a.m. Saturday. There's the times you can see it, but outstanding work by Cablevision, getting the Panthers on the air for the state final. You have to be looking forward to seeing Pequannock. What a job Cosmo LaRusso has done in 1999. This is a team that has outscored their opponents 150-20 in the first quarter. They've scored over 56 times. Wispelwey, 25 touchdowns. Kyle Shenton, 25 touchdowns he scored. These guys just spread it around. This is a big-time team to watch. Dave Tellis, Ben Burklow, Ryan McGovern, Rob Lamoriello. All kinds of great things going on in Pequannock in 1999. Hanover Park's going to have to stop them. And David, you've seen Hanover Park this year. They are taking on another one of our steamrollers this year in Pequannock. But Hanover Park can get some things done.
They can get some things done. You know, John Lamberto has that wrestler's mentality to him, and he's got that scrappy, fire-in-the-heart thing instilled in his players. You know, Novielis and Relaford and Kapari, the fullback, you love seeing this kid carry the ball. They mix it up nicely between the run and the pass, you know, and as I said, in this 4th year, both of these teams were in the hunt last year, so they have a taste.
You talk about Pequannock, you talk about a team that, you know, had 6 guys score in their last game. All kinds of guys scoring offensively. They do it every which way and loose. They do it on the run. They do it on the pass. Wispelwey has been outstanding in 1999. And you got to like finally getting Pequannock on the air in our game of the week. And it's down at King College. And this is going to be a good old-fashioned offensive shootout.
It's great. You know, as a high school coach, most of my weeks are spent dealing with my own team. And over the last 2 years, fortunately because of Cablevision, I'm able to see all these other great teams. And I'm really looking forward to the Pequannock-Hanover Park game. I think it's going to be terrific.
And just quickly, before we leave you tonight, as we take a look at the Pequannock Panthers. I mentioned Whispelway, 19 yards per completion in 1990. Also, Group 2, Section 1, we want to talk about Westwood, the Cardinals, 4 comebacks in the last 5, coming off the loss. Let's see if those guys can respond against Lenape Valley. Billy Moore, the tailback, 16 touchdowns, 3 in the semis of Ridgefield Park. George DeGrand's club going for it all. But most importantly, as you leave you tonight, get out there and see some games this week. I criticize the state when they do a bad job scheduling. They've done a good job this week. They stacked the games up. You got 2 on Friday night, doubleheader. Then Saturday, pick it, man. Go see Glen Rock. Go see Westwood. Go see Pequannock on Saturday. Then take your Saturday night and go see Hoboken taking on Wayne Hills. Check out all those games. I'll be there. I know what you're saying. You'll get paid. My wife will be at Nordstrom's. She'll take it out on me. Have fun. We'll see you this week on the state finals. See ya.